Hello family and welcome back. In today's tutorial I'll be guiding you on how to cut and sew an official stylish pencil dress with turtleneck design step by step. Kindly don't forget to subscribe if it's your first time interacting with this channel. Also like and leave a comment down below. So to start off, these are the required materials. Half a meter black stretchy fabric for overbust section. Second is main fabric, which is 1.5 meters, also stretchy for skirt, sleeves and yoke sections. Then lastly, we have drafting pattern papers to be used to draft both front and back parts. For that reason, I'll put one piece aside for now. I'm going to be drafting front upper part on this other pattern paper. At the top edge is a line which represents shoulder line. And I want you to keep in mind that the side edge is center front, which you'll assume is on fold. So now I'll take vertical measurements. First is the shoulder line to bust line measurement at 10 inches. Next is to under bust line at 13 inches. And lastly, shoulder line to waistline at 15.5 inches. In order to achieve straight horizontal lines, I'll just repeat the same measurement on side. Given these points, I'll now use a straight ruler in drawing horizontal lines across marked points. After that, I'll also label each of the lines as bust line, under bust line, waistline in that order, and shoulder line right here. From there, you need to draw neckline at the corner. Since it's a turtleneck design, measure only 2 inches neck depth by 2.5 inches neck width. After which, use a curved ruler in drawing a neckline in that manner. Once done, measure half shoulder measurement on shoulder line from center front. Mine is 6.5 plus 0.5 inches stitching allowance, that makes it 7 inches. From that exact point, measure 1 inch down for shoulder slope. And with that, go ahead and draw shoulder slope from neck width to the mark. Next, I want to mark chest line from shoulder slope. Use the formula on the screen to find chest line. I found mine to be 7.5 inches. Then I'll go ahead and draw a line across the mark, which I'll also label as chest line. With chest line drawn, I'll now carry forward half shoulder measurement to it. That's 7 inches. Hence a vertical line connecting these 2 points. I'm done drawing armhole depth, just like that. Again, measure half bust span on waistline and on bust line at 3 inches. Once done, draw that line from bust line to waistline as can be seen. I love using bustier darts on my dresses. To draw one, measure 0.5 inches on that line towards the center front, then 1 inch on the opposite side. So now we'll draw 2 parallel lines with these marks to under bust line as you're about to see. That's not all, since you also need to measure 1 inch down from bust line still on that lane. Having done that, draw tiny curves on both sides running from the mark down to the 2 parallel lines drawn earlier. And this being a shoulder princess dart bustier, mark a shoulder line midpoint, that's 4.5 divided by 2. After which I'll extend the dart line to meet shoulder line midpoint, if you understand what I mean by that. From there, measure about 1.5 inches on the armhole depth from chest line. This is to be used in drawing a nice sweetheart neckline towards the center front. I feel like the chest line is a bit high, that's why I'll measure 3/4 down. So now I'll use the 2 points in drawing the sweetheart neckline. I ended up not using the points marked earlier. From chest line, it's now 1.25 inches and about 1.75 inches on the other end. Next thing to do is taking quarter bust circumference measurement on chest line. That's basically bust measurement divided by 4. Further on, also find armhole depth, midpoint and mark as well. In addition, go in with about 0.5 inches from that exact point. And given these points, draw armhole curve using curved ruler as I'm showing you. Back to finishing up of that bustier, measure 0.5 inches on the left side and 1 inch on the right side. That being so, use a ruler to join them to bust line with lines. I'm now going to extend this line on side for me to be able to add that replacement on it. And with that, I'll draw new armhole curve as can be seen. Next, measure quarter waist circumference on waistline at 6 inches plus 1.5 inches that replacement. What is left is finishing our bodice outline with these 2 points. I've not added any stitching allowance here, that will be added on main fabric. Areas you see me shade are no longer needed. This is me cutting a long drawn outline, then later we'll cut a long neckline and also a long sweetheart neckline and that line. I want to use this other pattern paper in drafting back top part. The drawn line at the very top represents shoulder line. First, I'll take shoulder line to bust line at 10 inches, then to waistline at 15.5 inches. From there, I'll square lines across the marks put. So now we have shoulder line, bust line, and lastly waistline or half length right there. It's time to draw back neckline. I'll use 2.5 inches neck width by only 1 inch neck depth. After that, I'll draw neckline as can be seen. Again, just like in front part, I'll measure half shoulder measurement on shoulder line, then 1 inch down for shoulder slope. This line I'm drawing is shoulder slope. If you can recall, chest line was 7.5 inches from shoulder slope. That's what I'll mark. Then I'll line across it and we'll also label it as CL, meaning chest line. Now measure half shoulder measurement on chest line at 7 inches. This is just to help in achieving straight vertical line. Having done that, go ahead and measure quarter bust circumference on chest line, though back armhole shouldn't curve as front armhole, which is why we'll draw just a tiny curve right there. Using front side panel, I'll mark where sweetheart neckline starts. Again, I'll measure to confirm what I have since I need to also mark the same on the center back. Having marked, we'll go down by 0.5 inches further and lastly draw a line joining these two marks on side edges. It's important to have it slanted a bit and not straight. Very first, let's measure half bust span on waistline at 3 inches and on bust line 2, which we are to use in drawing that line. So now measure 0.5 inches on each side of the dart line because it's a normal dart, not a princess dart busted this time. From there, draw dart like I'm showing you. Further on, measure quarter waist circumference on waistline at 6 inches plus 1 inch dart replacement. Given these points, we'll use a straight line finishing up back bodice part outline. I'll go ahead and label this part as yoke, which is to be cut from the line above chest line. So let's cut out. I'm done cutting back part 2. Let's also label the front upper piece as yoke 2. In addition to that, draw arrows on front panels to avoid any confusion. As can be seen, have traced out pieces of fabric from the drafted pattern papers, both front and back parts. Left 1.5 inches zip allowance as center backs and 0.5 inches stitching allowance all around the rest of the pieces. Here I'm notching to know where to stitch darts from. Also, I'll notch on center back, top and bottom, and from there I'll just remove all pins used in securing pattern papers and pieces of fabric. Then I'll arrange front pieces demonstrating how they are to be stitched back together, yoke part and overbust panels. Put right sides together and pin down starting from bottom edge all the way to the top. After pinning, stitch on pin area with 0.5 inches. Assuming you're done stitching, it's important to notch around curved section to prevent wrinkles from forming. And here I'm showing you how stitching is done practically. Always stitch from waistline going up. And like I said, after stitching, you need to notch on the curved part. This is what we've got after ironing seams flat and notching. So now we'll show you how yoke part is attached to it. Put right sides together again and pin starting from center front all the way. And assuming you've pinned on both sides, stitch on pin area with 0.5 inches as well. Your end result should be something close to this. I'm done attaching yoke part to overbust piece. This is it after ironing seams towards overbust section. So let's do the same on back pieces, which is now simpler. Put right sides together, then stitch with 0.5 inches on both sides. After that, also stitch darts from where you notched earlier. I've done as I explained, and after giving them good presses, here they. So now I want to do some alteration at center back to prevent zip bulge. Measure 0.5 inches from center line, then draw new center line from the mark like that. Again, measure 0.5 inches on new drawn center line from waistline this time. Then another new waistline as I'm doing, and when done, cut a long drawn line. One last thing is shaping center back also, since there is no need of having so much allowance left. From there, we'll loosely stitch on new center line from top to bottom without back stitching. I'm done stitching, though didn't back stitch, just like I said. So now we'll bring forth front piece. This I'm doing in order to join shoulders together with about 0.5 inches on both sides. Then we'll go ahead and also stitch on sides using body measurements. Shoulders are joined together as you can see. I did stitch on sides too. From here, before fixing sleeves, I'll show you how to fix the low hanging sleeve you saw on the dress. We'll use these two pieces. On the longer side, the measurement we have is 20 inches inclusive of stitching allowance, whereas shorter side is 7 inches after folding both ends. With that in mind, also measure armhole part with black fabric, which is 2 inches. That means this piece width is to be pleated to about 1.5 inches or so. I'm here pinning down as I pleat to the required measurement. So guys, we'll repeat the same on this other end, and after I'm done, we'll head over to ironing board in order to iron it flat. I'm done ironing both pieces, just look at that. So now we'll rip back pieces. Once I'm done doing so, we'll pin down one side of the sleeve to the front part, then the next to the back part as I'm showing you. Thereafter, I'm going to stitch on the pin part with 0.25 inches only. This is the end result after stitching first sleeves to armholes. Here comes the second pair of sleeves also to be stitched around armholes. I'll put a link on the description how to draft a basic long and short sleeve. Kindly check it out. This is how you can easily fix sleeves. First put the sleeve inside the dress, then spread sleeves flat around the armpit area for both sleeve and top parts. Once that is done, stitch all around with 0.5 inches. There we go guys, I already love what I'm seeing. Kindly leave a comment down below if you think this is the easiest way of attaching sleeves to armhole. Very first, I want to draft skirt part using this piece of fabric, which is folded twice because I want to draft both front and back parts all at once. Bear in mind that the top edge is waistline. So now we'll take waistline to full length line at 42 inches. I'm measuring from 15.5 since that the total border is full length. After marking at 42 inches, I'll further add 2 inches folding allowance, and this is to be done twice if you need straight lines. For hip line, we'll measure 10 inches from waistline. I repeat the same on side in order to achieve a straight line. And given these points, I'll draw lines across the marks. Also have in mind that the upper part is front part, and for that reason, I'm going to measure quarter waist circumference from center front on waistline and mark plus 1.5 inches stitching allowance. Note that allowance added. Again, we'll measure quarter hip circumference on hip line and mark plus 1.5 inches stitching allowance. On the full length line, I'll go with just 8 inches plus 1 inch stitching allowance so that I'm able to use all these recent marks in drawing basic skirt outline, after which I'll cut a long drawn outline. Once I'm done cutting, we'll trace front center line on back pieces in that manner from bottom to top. Then from there, I'm just going to flip front piece like that in order to make some alterations. I'm measuring 0.5 inches from center line on waistline. Then I'll use that in drawing new back center line in that manner. Having finished that, we'll be forced to also slash out some part of the allowance. Next, I'll measure slit allowance right there. So now we loosely stitch along the slit allowance, back stitch, then small normal stitches in this space, a back stitch again, and lastly loose stitches along the zipper space. I've done as I explained guys, and had to notch after the slit for me to be able to spread seams flat. Next, I'll just stitch on sides using body measurements. After that, we'll rip out slit allowance, then the zipper allowance as well. Next, I'm going to attach top piece to skirt piece by putting right sides together as I stitch with 0.5 inches stitching allowance all round. This is starting to look like a dress. I love the outcome and I hope you do too. I've gone ahead and made turtleneck piece off camera. It's in this shape. Comment down below if you're interested in knowing how to cut one. I'll now head over to the sewing machine in order to attach it to the dress neckline with about 0.5 inches all round. One last thing to do is fixing this long hidden zipper on the zipper space right from the turtleneck to where it ends. I'm done and this is the final look. Zipper and the turtleneck came out neatly finished. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Also support by liking this video and sharing it with friends. Let's meet in our next tutorial. Bye!